Hello folks, welcome again to one of our Meet the Manager series. Today I have Reid with me from Majedie Asset Management. Majedie are a London-based investment manager. They specialise in UK stock market. They run 4 funds, around 9 billion of assets under management, and Chris runs the UK Income Fund. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Could I just kick off by asking you to outline what you try to do with the UK Income Fund, what your investment process is and how you select your stocks?
Yes. Well, I think the fund's objective, to be honest, is pretty what you'd expect from an income fund. We're trying to grow it over the long term, so generate capital growth and really increase the pence per share. But I think how we do it is possibly a little bit different to some of the other funds out there. So really what I'm looking for are stocks that can massively re-rate, so really get a big capital value uplift from something that they're doing. And we're looking for stocks that are really leapfrogging their competitors in some way. So maybe some very significant operational improvement or a big market structure change. But that's really the key to the fund, is taking big positions in companies that we think are very significantly improving and picking up the income while we wait.
Okay, so a fairly high conviction approach. Obviously that space that you're in, which is UK equity income, trying to provide an income above what the market is offering,
yes,
is a reasonably crowded space. Maybe could you just touch on how you differentiate from the competitors in that space?
Yes. Well, I think there's quite a number of things we do differently, because really to get this conviction position in a company, you have to have a capacity constrained fund, because that allows you to be able to hold 5, 6, 7% of NAV of a company when it's going through these significant improvements, and that's really how you get, you make a lot of money for your clients. And that's the Majedie ethos, to keep the fund capacity constrained. I think also, one thing that I think I'm personally a little bit different to the traditional fund manager is, I haven't just worked in the city since I left university. I actually spent 10 years as an analyst on the sell side, so writing research reports and investigating companies. So I have that sort of forensic level of analysis that tells me if a company's speaking the truth or not. And then I also spent 6 years out there in the real world working and consulting with companies. And I think that also helps me to ask management the right questions. So the net result of all that is we end up with a lot of the NAV in companies that we think have got a really high chance of being successful.
Okay, great. And if I could also ask about alignment of interest, it's something that's quite important to us here. Maybe you could just touch on how your interests are aligned with the investors in the fund.
Yes, well, at Majedie we really believe in that as well. We're a small house, and it's very important that we're all incentivized quite strongly for the fund. So I actually have 3 real sort of incentives that align me with the fund. Firstly, I've got a lot of stock at Majedie, and that's sort of given to me over a long period of time. So therefore it's difficult to go anywhere. And I'm really interested in the firm's funds doing well. Secondly, I've got a lot of my own money in this income fund. So obviously, that gives me a lot of alignment, and so do a lot of my work colleagues. And thirdly, my pay is basically significantly, pretty much directly influenced by how the performance of the fund is done relative to the all share. So, I think I've got massive alignment in pretty much all areas with this fund.
Great, great. So if we could maybe just turn to stock markets.
Yes.
Interesting few days we've had on the market. So just in light of that, just be interested in your medium-term view, say, for the UK stock market.
Yes. Well, I think in the medium term, we try not to have a massive view in this fund on the overall stock market direction. So, what we're really looking for is picking stocks within that. But, having said that, I suppose I'm reasonably constructive. Obviously a lot of the easy money has been made in the rally with retrospect. But, if we look at where we are today, I think it's entirely possible to build up a portfolio that's, cheap versus the market, maybe 20, 25% PE discount to the market, and composed of companies that are really improving a lot. And, we think we've managed to do that. So, I wouldn't say we're massively constructive on the overall market, but I think there are, a number of real pockets of interesting value, and a number of companies, particularly in the general financial sector, that we think are really transforming in a very exciting manner. And we think as that gets priced in, there'll be, you know, quite a lot of upside over the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay. And within that, any particular company you'd like to highlight you think is undergoing that change that's quite interesting for you?
Yes, well, I think, you know, one of the positions this fund has taken is we've got a lot of NAV, 35% of our NAV in net asset values in general financials. So I really believe that there's a lot of, you know, companies there that have woken up and smelt the coffee, and the world, you know, going forward is very different to what it was 5 or 6 years ago. And one of those companies is Man Group. So this company is known for its program trend trading house, which has obviously had a really bad time, but it's actually got a very good hedge fund. And, you know, in some ways this is going to be a bit of a golden era for hedge funds, and those hedge funds are doing well and gathering assets. The stock is trading at book value. There's not a lot of companies in the market like that. And also, importantly, we're being paid to wait. So it's got a 5% dividend yield, a very strong balance sheet, prospect of special dividends. So, you know, I see this is one of the bigger positions in the fund. And, you know, although there is some risk, I'm pretty optimistic on that company, you know, plus 50% in the medium term at least.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Chris, thanks for running through all those points with us. Hopefully that's been of interest both to those of you that are already invested in the Majedie UK Income Fund and those that might like to consider it as part of your portfolio. If so, please contact your broker for a copy of the note we recently put out on the fund. Thank you.